Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Autodesk Webinars, 29 June 2017. And I hope everyone can hear me. And you can see my slides as well, slides presentations. Okay. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Rifan, and I'll be the presenter for today's webinar. And today I'll be accompanied by Yukwa Cheng, who will help me to answer some of your questions during our presentation today. So as usual, if you have any questions during our presentations, you can type your questions in the questions box, and you don't have to wait until the end of these presentations. So either myself or Yukwa will try our best to answer your questions. And if your questions require more discussions, you can raise the support request with us as well. Hi, good afternoon, Dave. Alright, so if you happen to miss our previous webinar sessions, you can find the recording in YouTube under Build Your Up and Ready Knowledge playlist. And in the future, we might change the way we upload this webinar so everyone can get it better instead of using our YouTube playlist. So today's webinar will be covering the topic of get up and ready with our Autodesk Standalone licensing. So today we'll be sharing knowledge on common activation issue for perpetual license and subscription license. And today we will be only covering single users, so there'll be no multi-users license will be involved in these presentations. So after that, then we will explain on how to troubleshoot such issues, the most common issues that you always face. Okay, and you can find our PowerPoint presentations in this link. And I put this in the chat box as well, so feel free to take it for your reference in the future. Okay, so this will be our agenda today. We'll be discussing common issue on perpetual license for single users and how to troubleshoot such license issue as well. Okay, and on top of that, we'll touch some common issue on the subscriptions licensing for single users. And same thing, we'll give you some tips on how to troubleshoot such issue, so it'll be better to troubleshoot it together. Okay, so let's start with the common issue on perpetual license. I believe most of us here might be experiencing this issue before. First, you'll be having some difficulty in exporting and importing your license. So second will be activations. Your activations will be reached its limit and you have to come back to us for the activations code. So these issues are very common in perpetual license because the activations method used in such type of license is slightly different compared to such subscriptions. Okay, we'll put the step on how to export and import your license here, but we are not going to run through all of that because nowadays I think we don't really recommend such method anymore, because most of us from support team believe rather than you spend so much time in fixing your issue in your license transfer utility, we can do something better and it's more efficient in terms of support process, which is less hassle and it is not time consuming. So here are some common issues that you may have seen when you try to run, license transfer from your utility. First thing will be error reference 44 and your export request will be failed. Next thing will be serial numbers that you entered is not valid and the export request will be failed as well. So next, to import your license, sometimes you might correct your system date and time, and that end up that you might have to, repeat again, and it will come up with import fail error message. All right. So I believe some of us may use LTU when you want to reformat the current machines and you want to export this license first, or transfer the license from one machine to another one by doing the export and import things. But we had been asked as well, what if you had your laptop stolen, or if you forgot to export your license before reformatting your machines? What's the best way to get around these situations? So we'll talk about this in this slide. So what are the best practice we always recommend to our customers? Here are some of them that you can follow. First thing is make sure you're connected to the internet connections, and you can choose to uninstall the existing software in your old PC and re-download and install the installer again, and you can proceed with the installation on your new PC. And then lastly, of course, you can proceed to activate your software again. But here's where it gets tricky sometimes when you lose your laptop or perhaps forgot to uninstall the software before reformatting your machines. And you will not have the chance to do all this steps that is highlighted in this slide. So when you want to reactivate again, you might encounter this error saying that your activations limit reached. Okay, so how do you go about these issues? We will explain this in the next slide. Okay, first thing, you need to make sure that you're ready with your product informations. And here's how it looks like normally. Before proceeding with the activations, you might see all these information such as product name, serial numbers, your product key, and the most importantly is your request code. So you need to gather all this information so you can get the activation code from either one of these resources. First thing will be using our AVA, Autodesk Virtual Agents. And please take note, our AVA is an automated system, so it's not a real life agent. So you have to be specific on your request. And when I say specific, it could be range from less wordy, not too long, and please type it in one sentence rather than telling us the whole story. For example, some customer might actually tell us the whole story. For example, they changed their PC, I need the activation code, how can I do about it? So make sure you make it simple in the sentence in the AVA. So I'll just run through how AVA will looks like, so you can try this when you have time in the futures. Okay, and can everyone see the slides right now? AVA. Okay, here's how AVA looks like. So for example, you need the activation code. You can do something very simple just by typing here in the chat box. Let me give you one example. Okay, AVA will detect your request and it will ask you to fill up all the important information here. Your first name, your last name, your email address, the product that you're trying to activate. Okay, versions and serial numbers, of course. This is why the reason earlier, I get everyone to get ready with this information, so you don't have to, come back to your software and try it again here. Product key, same thing. Request code, which is the one that I highlighted earlier. Okay, email associated with the serial numbers. I believe everyone should know this. Okay, and you can click submit. So AVA will actually generate the request code, the activation code for you. And if you're not sure, how to find such information, you can chat with our agent. That's one over here, or you can create a case. So it's really up to you. But make sure always sign in from here. So it'll be easier for us to generate, your existing information in your account. So you will save some time to fill up some of this information inside here, this form. All right. Next, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, and I think that's all for perpetual license. We don't really have so much of a common issues that we know of, except transferring this and exporting those license issues. Okay, We'll move forward to subscription license, and I'm really excited to start these portions because most of us here might be able to relate to this one, because when you activate you might see these issues. First will be established connections error. I think this is very common, especially if your customer is in the corporate. Okay, next thing would be contact your administrator error. Okay, then renew your license. I believe some of you might have seen this. And lastly, license manager is not functioning error. You can see all the screenshots I provided in this slide. It will look similar as this. All right, let's start with the first error, establish internet connections error. So here's the main root cause. Normally, some of our corporate customer will have a strict network in their environments for proxy and firewall. They might be seeing this when they trying to activate their license, subscription license. And please take note, if you're trying to activate 2014 or 2015 products versions, please try this hotfix first, the one that I provided in this slide, before proceeding with the next troubleshooting step. Okay, because some 2014 and 15 has a different way in activating. So you need to try this hotfix first, then move on into the next slide, which is this one. Okay, here are some steps that you can do to troubleshoot. If your proxy is handled from your Internet Explorer browsers, you can try to follow this step provided in our articles here. I think some of you might have seen this before, by modifying some of the browser settings and add some of the URL exceptions in the proxy settings. Let me see whether I can get this for you. Alright, let me just show you what the article looks like. I think some of you might have seen this before. We have given this to you. Okay, changing the settings. Okay, and putting some, you can try to telnet and you can put all of this URL informations into the browser's proxy exceptions. Okay, and if your proxy is not so straightforward and it is handled by your network admin, you need to get your admin to ensure the proxy is configured to allow unrestricted or anonymous access to the following URL. Okay, there's a list of URLs on the right hand side there. So you need to make sure the default port numbers for HTTP is 80 and HTTPS is 443. Okay, and alternatively, let's say if this is urgent and you still need to wait for your network admin to bypass this URL, you can always if you happen to have open or guest network or Wi-Fi tethering hotspot, you can always bypass that for the time being by connecting to, if you're using laptop, you can connect to the Wi-Fi using your hotspot and try to activate it again. But that one, of course, is just a temporary solutions, but definitely it's worth trying rather than, sometimes, getting your admin to bypass this URL might not be a one-day solution. So you can always try this. It will be faster while waiting for them to fix the issues. Okay, the URL in green are meant for meta products, or we call it desktop subscriptions that contain of serial number. Okay, and the other one, which is orange, are meant for users license. We normally call it cloud license that doesn't contain serial numbers. So the difference is when you go to account, sometimes you will see that no serial numbers needed. You just need to sign in. That's what we call cloud licensing. Okay, the rest of the URL here are shared between Meta and user license. And most of the corporate might need both of these to be bypassed and whitelisted in their environments. Okay, and I think these are frequently asked questions by our customers or resellers. what are the IP address of this URL. So users should use the DNS name instead for configuring this proxy server, and you should not use the IP address because it might change in the futures and you will have a hard times to come back to us having your questions answered again. Okay, next questions would be, does users have to be online constantly to use Autodesk Desktop subscriptions products? So the answer will be, for the first time activations, user will be authenticated by login dialog box, and customer have to be online at this time. Okay, and when we mean being online, is not just being online on your intranet connections, but it meant that your internet access to our Autodesk server has to be open as well. Okay, and subsequently after 30 days you have to be in internet access as well, because our software will be re-authenticating your login informations to continue to use your software. And lastly, and if you think this is too much for your corporate environments, the next license that we could recommend would be your network license, of course. But do take note, the cost might be slightly different, and you need to set up your LM tools, we call it LM tools, for the license managers on your server machines. All right, moving on into the next issue on subscription license, which is contact your admin error. This is also very common, and normally the main root cause will be the respective users is not assigned a license to the users. Okay, next will be, how do you troubleshoot this error normally? So first step, to make sure that you have been assigned a product by your contract managers. That's important. As you can see from this screenshot, you can log into your contract manager account, okay, and navigate to the user tab over here. Let me just, okay, oops, over here, and then assign a new user email address and assign the access based on the respective contract number over here. So for example, you have a product design collections that you need to assign to user A. So, and if you have more than one, make sure it's the right contract numbers. Otherwise, you might be assigning the wrong licenses to your customers or users. Okay, next step will be, please don't forget to double check as well whether the product show up in the assigned user account, because that's important. By logging into this manage.autodesk.com, because sometimes even after assigning the products from the contract manager's account, the product might not be synced immediately. So you need to make sure both of these are met, these two steps. First thing is contract manager to assign the product, and the product has to be appeared in the user's account before you proceed with the activations. Okay, next will be renew your license. Is another common issue. The main root cause most likely will be very straightforward. Your license subscription is expired. Okay, how do you troubleshoot this error normally? First thing is log into your account again. Same thing, manage.autodesk.com. Make sure your license is not expired from the contract manager's account. And it should be very easy to spot, if you have an account that is expired. It will be shown in the account itself. Okay, next, how do you troubleshoot renew your license? So let's say you're sure the next thing after that, you're sure that your license is not expired. You can try to force activate your license by deleting this file under these folders. Okay, you can refer to your respective operating system. If you use Windows, please refer to the Windows portions, and there's a Mac as well. Okay, and I've put the articles that you can refer to for your reference as well to force activate your products. So feel free to use this. And then the reason why we recommend you to do this step is because sometimes when you change your subscriptions, you might be using the old serial numbers, which is obviously it could be expired or no longer available in your account. So these are pretty useful as well. Okay, but do take note, these activations might reset the activations for others Autodesk products. So just be careful if you want to do this. And if you're not sure or you're afraid to do this, you can always approach us. We can help you on this portion. Okay, next thing. You might have seen this in 2017 and 2018 product versions recently. And this error main root cause can be happen due to this one. LGS data file in your client machines does not exist, or it might be using a wrong value. We can talk about this in the next few slides. Okay, but please take note from this point onwards, the slide will be slightly technical and I'll try my best to explain this as clear as I can. Okay, how do you troubleshoot this error? So first step, make sure LGS data.data file exists in these folder locations. Okay, same thing, you can refer to your operating system versions. If you're using Windows, please refer to that portions over here. Windows. Okay, and Mac, you can go to this path folders. So if LGS folders does not exist in this CLM folders, you can always create this manually. And if you're not sure about the product key of each product, you can always refer to this link, or you can go to your account as well. Okay. And next thing is, so here's the example. If you're using AutoCAD LT 2018, your LGS folders should look like this. So it'll be 057J1, which is the product key, underscore, and the versions. So if you're using 2018, definitely you have to put 2018. And please take note, if you're using 2017, the product key is definitely different. So don't use the same product key for other versions. So next, how do you troubleshoot this error? Another thing to take note is if you're creating your lgs.data file manually, make sure it's saved under lgs.data format and it's not lgs.data.txt. So just make sure if you have hidden your known file extensions, just make sure that you show it to the, make it appears in your system. Let me just show it to you how does it looks like. Okay, I'm talking about this one, these settings. If you go to view, this portions, if you can see, hide extension for non-file types. Okay, if this is ticked, you might be seeing .txt being hidden from your lgs.data. So just make sure that this is unticked and you are very sure that it's lgs.data format. Okay, next, verify your account subscriptions by logging in into this account. This is to check what value you need to put in your LGS data file. Okay, you have to check whether you're under cloud license, which is normally doesn't come with any serial numbers, or the other one, which is the Perpetual type, which is there's a serial numbers license in it. Okay, so after those steps verified, you need to modify your LGS data file value according to your subscription type. So if you're using cloud license, you need to put underscore user. Okay, and if you're using serial numbers license, put a standalone value in it. Okay, I will show you how it's supposed to look from your account. Okay, if you're using Click, you will see these descriptions. No serial number needed. You just need to sign in. Okay, another one will be if you're using serial numbers for your license activations. Here's how it will look like. So do take note, this troubleshooting step that I've highlighted for this error is only applies to 2017 and 2018 versions. So you don't have to do these steps on your 2016 or lower product versions. Okay, I'm going to share to use some of the best practices to troubleshoot your activation error on your subscription account, first, make sure you have been assigned a product by your contract managers. That's definitely that you have to check. And then make sure your product appears in your user account. So for example, a CM assigned a license to me. I need to log into my account and make sure the product is there. Okay, third, make sure your license is not expired. And please contact your contract managers if you are unable to see these information from the user account. Okay, lastly, you can choose to reset your license activations locally by following this step highlighted in this article. Okay, same thing, this is a force activations articles that you can try. Okay, then lastly, if you can always go to our AKN, knowledge.autodesk.com. If you see any issue, you can always refer to that one. And there are tons of information that you can get from this portal. It can be ranged from download, install, activations, any license issue, or even some of the product feature wise, you can always refer to this portal. Okay, and don't forget, if you can't find the answer or it doesn't help you at all, you can always raise a support request to us, and we are always here to help you as much as we can. All right. All right, that's the end of the presentations. We can move to Q&A sessions.